Let's get to modern day. Peace talks ongoing to end the war in Gaza. It's October 7. Obviously, Israel is really amplifying the Remember October 7 propaganda. October 7, 2023 should be a reminder that we are turning the page and getting into the third year of Israel's Holocaust of the Palestinian population in Gaza. We are now in the third year. It's been 2 whole years, which sounds so fucking crazy when you think about it. You're like, 2 entire years. 2 entire years. October 7, 2024 was the first year of Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. And October 7, 2025, today, is the end of the second year.
This morning marks 2 years since the horror of October 7th, when thousands of Hamas militants stormed into Israel, massacring nearly 1,200 people, taking 251 hostage. Udi Goren's cousin, Tal Haimi, died defending his kibbutz. His body is one of those being held in Gaza.
This barbarism, this hatred that just flowed in uncontrollably. It really was just the worst of humanity.
Like so many families, he hopes the talks between Israel and Hamas will end the war and bring their loved ones home. Phase 1 of the US brokered plan would see the immediate release of all 48 remaining hostages, 20 believed to be alive. Palestinian prisoners would be released and Israeli troops partially withdraw. But a key sticking point,
I think one of the craziest aspects of like the relitigation of October 7 over and over again in an effort to justify Israel's bloody murder campaign, Israel's Holocaust of the Palestinians, is that it is somehow the most televised and the most like filmed act of terror, but it's also the most lied about. Okay? Because there are things that you can point to that are active, like war crimes, right? Regardless of the fact that, and you're supposed to match it up with 75 years of apartheid, of course, at the end of the day. But even then, right, there are things that you can present that took place that are war crimes. But that wasn't enough. Israel had to literally just straight up fucking lie about virtually every aspect of October 7. And not only that, but also still to this fucking day, there have been admissions of the Hannibal Directive being utilized on October 7 on the Israeli civilian population, both with the people that were escaping the Nova Festival and also certainly in the kibbutzim. We still do not have any conclusive evidence. No investigations have been taking place on the Israeli side that directly points to how many the IDF actually ended up killing of their own civilians and their own military members as well. Shocking. It's been 2 fucking years and we still do not know. We do know that the Hannibal Directive was applied. And for those of you who don't know, Hannibal Directive not used, lie. 40 beheaded babies, lie. Bombing of a hospital, lie. I mean, yeah. But it is remarkable, to me at least, it is remarkable to me that there are still so many questions left unaddressed, left unanswered. People still turn around and say, 1,200 Israelis were killed, making it seem as though every single person was a civilian. That's not the truth, obviously. The Hannibal Directive, for those of you who still are oblivious to it, is an Israeli military doctrine that dictates that it is better for Israel, the armed forces, to kill an Israeli that has been captured by the resistance forces than it is to leave them alive and allow them to be a bargaining chip for leverage in the hands of the resistance forces. It sounds insane, but it is straight up a part of Israeli military protocol. And not only is it a straight up part of Israeli military protocol, it was absolutely utilized on October 7. We know this because the defense secretary at the time, Yoav Gallant, international war criminal Yoav Gallant, openly admitted to the utilization of the Hannibal Doctrine on October 7. The attacks on the kibbutz and the music festival were awful. It was all recorded. It's just a horrible situation. Israel still chose to lie and make it sound like something from a movie. They just had to make genocide propaganda instead of reporting the truth and engaging in real hostage negotiations. But yeah, there was a deliberate reason for it. It's because, one, this was a real scar for a supremacist ideology, for a nation that is designed around a supremacist ideology. This was a major blow to their confidence. Okay, so that was one of the aspects. So like there is a sense of there was a genuine interest in it was genuine. Like the people did go genuinely insane. Okay, that is true. But also, because like, how dare these barbaric hordes actually rise up against us and strike this devastating of a blow against our superior peoples, right? Like they're supposed to be kept docile. They're supposed to be kept servile. It's like the Nat Turner Rebellion. So that certainly bricked the collective consciousness of Israeli society. But also on top of that, the reason for why they really beefed up the atrocity propaganda on October 7, in spite of the fact that there was very real atrocities that they could have just pointed at, right, was because they wanted to heighten international support. And they did. They successfully did get a lot of international support because Western leaders were totally willing to lean into ridiculous narratives that were very quickly and immediately discounted. Like people fact checked it early on and found that like a lot of the major narratives that they were driving were just completely made up. The babies being beheaded, babies being thrown in ovens, like mass rapes directed by Hamas, like all of this stuff was completely fucking made up. Whole cloth. Okay? And yet that didn't stop Western leadership, including Joseph Robinette Biden, from advancing these narratives and then quietly apologizing, having his staffers quietly apologize for even revealing this misinformation. You had esteemed, trusted, signature legacy publishers like the New York Times also playing a formative role in advancing this narrative of barbarism beyond the actual atrocities that took place. And obviously on the most extreme end, you had people like Rabbi Shmuley saying that Hamas was cutting off the breasts of Israeli women and playing soccer with the cut off breasts of Israeli women. Like just totally psychotic shit. Zoran Swan, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. What do you recommend in a world where everyone accuses the other of lying? I mean, critical thinking. Yeah, the lie about babies in ovens is a lot more sinister than just propaganda. Israeli forces have in fact killed babies in ovens, but when you Google that, guess what happens? Guess what appears first? Weren't Israeli forces that did that. Those were Zionist forces before the inception of the nation state of Israel. What you are talking about is Deir Yassin, okay? In Deir Yassin in 1947, a year prior to the completion of the Nakba, the early Zionist brigades with, I think it was Lihi and Irgun, the paramilitaries, actually did throw a baker's child in an oven and made the baker watch and then threw the baker in the oven after him. All of those Zionist brigades then, of course, became the IDF. You had Haganah, you had Irgun, you had Lihi, and numerous other brigades. They all basically formed the Israeli occupying forces, the Israeli Defense Force, as is known. Francis Cassandra Coppola? Wait, oh my God. Possibilities. 1, Hamas fighters who believe the 1948 baby in the oven story replicated the same atrocity in revenge. 2, the baby in the oven story is fiction invented by the Israelis to whip up hate against Palestinians. If so, it's succeeding. This was on October 31st, 2023. Oh my God. Were the Coppolas always like this? Is she a part of the Coppola family? Or is this like Megalopolis still sucks ass? Okay, bro, we're not talking about that. I mean, we know Scorsese. We know Scorsese was straight up hanging out with the Palestinian poet Mossab Abu Toha, but maybe she's not related to the other Coppolas. Another form of atrocity propaganda that they also utilized on October 7 when they were lying was the pregnant Israeli women having their the babies getting ripped out of their bodies, right? That actually didn't happen on October 7, but it is a atrocity that took place in the hands of Phalangist militias in the Sabra and Shatila massacre, which was also directed by Israel against both Palestinian refugees that were in Sabra and Shatila, and also the Shia Lebanese population that was in the area as well. Anyway, just something to remember. So a lot of the atrocity propaganda that these guys beefed up in the aftermath of October 7 and they ran around with were things that either Zionist brigades or the Israeli occupying forces had directly done or had overseen being done to the Palestinian population.
It could come in phase 2, which demands Hamas disarm and relinquish control of Gaza. But President Trump optimistic about the chances of success.
We're going to have a Gaza deal, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Growing numbers of Israelis now demanding an end to the war and the return of the hostages, among them the bodies of 2 Americans, Omar Nutra and Itai Chen. The deal could also bring an end to the suffering in Gaza. More than 67,000 Palestinians killed in this war, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Human rights groups saying many are now suffering from famine, something Israel denies. Our team witnessing the suffering up close. 2-year-old Farazia Kabat dying of starvation Monday, according to local doctors. His father, Mustafa, told by doctors that his son hadn't survived after being admitted to the ICU just 5 days earlier. Millions of Palestinians and Israelis now desperate for a deal to finally end.
It's hard to find the right words. It's beyond what anyone would ever want to imagine, much less, God forbid, experience. A baby, an infant, riddled with bullets, soldiers beheaded, young people burned alive. I could go on, but it's simply depravity in the worst imaginable way. Anthony Blinken, 12th of October, 2023. No. You're being bad.
And what's been a long living nightmare.
Well, those talks are now into their second day. The Qatari foreign minister just speaking, saying they lasted 4 hours yesterday. Everyone feels that it's still on track, hoping a deal by the end of the week. Michael?
Yeah, we all hope for that. Thank you so much, Ian.
We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We'll certainly be talking about Gaza.
So what I'm learning is that the atrocity propaganda not only has a dual purpose, but the primary purpose is the overriding of their own atrocity by selecting the same crimes on October 7 because the consent had already existed amongst the G7/core already. Yes, but I do think that the primary purpose was to still first and foremost really heighten the atrocity narratives in an effort to justify what came after. Because Israel knew exactly what was going on. Israel knew exactly what was going to happen, what they were going to do, the Israeli government, I mean, and obviously people who had been engaging in pro-Palestinian advocacy also knew exactly what was about to take place and what came before October 7, right? There's a reason why people like myself, from the start, were very careful with communicating exactly who was responsible for October 7. There were definitely some who went above and beyond when they were talking about the events that were taking place because they thought that they could get away with even a fraction of the callous ways in which the pro-Israel crowd speaks on these issues, right? You can't. You can't do that. It sucks, but you can't do that. And we're not even talking about like whether you should do that or not. I'm not relitigating that, okay? But it is obvious that there is not only an asymmetry with the ways in which Israel gets to do whatever the fuck it wants versus the retaliation or the resistance against such atrocities, but that asymmetry also certainly exists in the messaging realm, okay? That asymmetry certainly exists in the ways in which people defend Israel's atrocities and defend Israel's genocide. They can be as ridiculous as they want. They can be as bloodthirsty as they want. Look at Randy Fine. Okay? Randy Fine can just straight up say, like, Muslim congresspersons need to be shipped to Gaza so they can be fucking assassinated by the Israeli state, or, basically masturbate openly to fucking images of Gaza being completely destroyed. But of course, if there was a congressperson of like Palestinian background or a Muslim congressperson, could you imagine them fucking doing the same for October 7? And these two things are not even equivalent regardless, but there is no symmetry in the ways in which you can be openly callous and openly monstrous without penalty. You would get fucking destroyed. You would not only lose your job, you'd probably go to prison if you were to speak about Jews in the way that like Randy Fine speaks about Muslims, or if you spoke about Israel in the way that defenders of Israel speak openly about the victims on the Palestinian side. As a Palestinian, we inherently know that there is a massive asymmetry across board in every aspect you can think of, whether it comes to the actions on the ground or whether it comes to the words spoken about the situation. Pro-Israel people can literally call for our deaths to our faces in front of law enforcement and have zero recourse. Exactly.
We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years. You could say 500 years. You could say, but that it's been raging for a long time. And I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan. Yep. I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen. But there's a real chance that we could do something, so you may have some questions on that later. We are very close to making a deal.
The 3,000 years thing is new. Someone got into Trump's ear and made him start singing about this 3,000 years narrative. I suspect that this narrative will be more annoying for his base, because it's like a very common meta to dunk on the ways in which Israel will or Israelis or people who defend Israel actively say, "Well, this is promised land 3,000 years ago." It's like it's a way to bring religion into the conversation, and a lot of people don't appreciate that. A lot of people obviously make jokes about that because it's fucking ridiculous. So Trump, not realizing that he just keeps saying 3,000 years, it was promised to Israel 3,000 years ago, the land was promised to the Jews 3,000 years ago, is only going to make people more annoyed with him in his own base. You are underestimating the evangelical base? No, the evangelical base is gone. They're fucking insane. I'm not talking about the evangelical base. Trump's entire base of support is not just the rabid Christian evangelical Zionists. He needs support from a broader base if it chips away throughout time. And what remains is just like the rabid evangelical Zionists that support him, then he can't actually continue doing the stuff that he's doing. It's ridiculous.
The Middle East that will bring peace to the Middle East. After all of these years of millions and millions, tens of millions of people being killed, there's a chance to bring peace to the Middle East.
What guarantees are you getting giving your Arab partners that Israel will not resume its offensive after the hostages are released?
Well, the primary guarantee is once this deal happens, if it does happen, look, they're in negotiations right now, we are going to do everything possible. We have a lot of power, and we're going to do everything possible to make sure everybody adheres to the deal.